Metrics events determine conditions and process events based on real-time data. You can increase operational efficiency by providing immediate alerts to the users or channels that need them. Now, let's take a look at setting up metrics alert notifications. You can add a metrics event by tapping the Add Alert Policy button in the top right corner of the list. First, select a category. You can find information about metrics by category in the guide article. You can choose one of 3 levels: critical, warning, or info. Let's set a threshold for TPS. Select a metric, set the operator and threshold. At this point, if you need conditional operations for multiple metrics, you can add additional fields by pressing the +Add button. If you don't need them, you can remove them with the button on the right. If you need an arithmetic operation, you can enter it directly. The number of occurrences can be set in 2 ways. First, for the continuous method, an event is fired when the threshold is crossed n times in a row. If it goes below the threshold even once in the middle, the counting starts again from the next time it crosses the threshold. The second method is to set a duration and a count together. This method counts the number of times the threshold is crossed over a period of time and fires an event when the conditions you set are met. This way, if you go below the threshold halfway through, the counting doesn't reset. In this example, we'll fire an event when the threshold is crossed twice in 30 seconds. Setting the number of occurrences allows you to be notified of ongoing failures rather than transient failures. Pause feature. Once an event is fired, it will pause the event feature for a set amount of time. After the time has elapsed, the event will occur again when the next threshold is crossed. If you have resolved notifications turned on, the pause will start after the event occurs. Resolved. You can simulate events based on the conditions you set above. The simulation chart is a feature that allows you to preview the number of events by applying the event conditions you are currently setting to data from the past. You can hover over the chart to see the metric values for each target in detail. The threshold is set too high compared to the data to allow an event to occur. Let's adjust the threshold so that we can detect when the data spikes. With simulation results like this, you can modify your threshold, occurrence count, and journal stop settings accordingly. Next, let's select the audience for the event to occur. The selection of targets can vary by category. After selecting a target, you can simulate again to see the simulation results for the selected target. Next, you set the name and message for the event. The name and message are included in the notification when the event occurs and can also be viewed in the Event History menu. Finally, let's configure recipient tags and perform a reception test. Recipient tags allow you to choose whether to notify all project members or only specific ones when an event occurs. If you set the Development tag, notifications will be sent only to members and channels with that tag. Let's set the tag and send a test message. You can verify that the event is delivered to the channel with the Development tag. The incoming test confirms that a message starting with test to verify that a message that starts with test. Variables and messages generated by the receive test are not replaced with their actual values. They are replaced with their occurrence values when the actual event occurs. When all settings are complete, press the Save button. The list gives you an overview of the event settings. Also, if the event is tagged for receiving, you can click the tag to see which members belong to the tag. When an event occurs, a pop-up will appear in the top right corner of your browser, and you'll be able to see what's happening in real time. Notifications are sent to the members' channels that correspond to the listening tags you set. You can also check the Event History menu. You can view up to 1 year of data in the Event History menu. Since we didn't use the resolve notification feature for this event, the event will only occur. In other words, the event resolution time is not updated because it is an event without resolution. Now, let's explore the recovered alert function. First, let's initialize both the number of occurrences and pauses for illustration purposes. If we turn off the resolved alerting feature and simulate it, we get 8 events. Without resolved alerts, an event will be fired whenever data comes in that exceeds the threshold, as shown. Of course, the count can vary by changing the number of occurrences and pause settings. Let's change the resolved alerting feature to on and simulate it. This time, 4 events will be fired. With the resolved alert feature, a firing occurs when the threshold is crossed, and a resolved event occurs when it falls below the threshold. While the threshold is still above the threshold without being resolved, we refer to it as an ongoing event, and it will be labeled as such in the event history. When a metric's value falls below the threshold and a resolution event occurs, you receive a notification message that starts with recovered. Let's see what happens if we change the pause setting. We set the pause to 5 minutes and simulate again, and this time we see 2 events. This is because, after the first event occurs and resolves, no events occur for the time we set the pause for. After 5 minutes, when the threshold is crossed again, the event will occur. Let's turn off the pause and finish setting up the event. Let's test listening to see how the resolved alert is received. First, an event will be fired at the critical level. After a while, you'll see a pop-up that the event is resolved at the info level. This is the message delivered to the receiving test. We've received notifications for the raised event and the resolved event. For the resolved event, you can see that it says recovered. Now let's make a bunch of transactions to the application we're monitoring and wait for the event to occur. The event is fired. Checking the event history, we can see that it didn't drop below the threshold and is still going on. The event has resolved. If we refresh the event history screen, we can see that the In Progress indicator is gone and the event resolve time column has been updated. You can view and set tags for each member channel in the Notification menu. You can see that the event is sent to the channel with the development tag that you set for the event. You can also toggle on off the Receive Tag Unset Notification feature to receive events without tags. That's it for setting up Metrics alert notifications. Thank you.